Today we're talking about some dating do's and don'ts, and we'll also cover a little bit of relationship building. My name is Jeremy, and with me today is Ann.
Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Good.
So we're talking about some dating do's and don'ts.
Yes.
Do you have any pet peeves? Things that you just hate seeing?
I think the biggest thing, especially on a first date, would be to focus your attention on your date and not be focused on maybe the game that's going on at the bar or the restaurant that you're at. If you're going to ask someone out on a date, or if you're going to be asked out on a date, be present, be in that date. Don't be paying attention to what's going on around you.
I like that. That's a really good point right there. When you're on a date, whether it be first date, third date, or whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you're focusing on the person that you're on the date with. You don't want to be constantly turning heads and looking down, fiddling with things, possibly texting. That seems to be a big one, and we'll actually cover that. So let's go ahead and get right into the list. I have a list of a couple of dating do's and don'ts, things you should do and things you should never do. This list is just things I've come across as I've been dating. All right, so the first one is don't be late. I hate that. I absolutely hate if I'm going out, especially a first date. I'm getting ready to meet someone, and I'm waiting around. It's 5 minutes prior, and I still haven't heard from them. And I say, "Hey, are you close, or where are you at?" Whatever. And I get a response, "I'm 15 minutes out," whatever the case might be. If you're going on a date, be prompt,
Just like you would for a first job, or for your first day at a new job, or a job interview. A date is similar to a job interview.
It is very similar to a job interview.
You are applying for the boyfriend or girlfriend position.
Exactly. That leads me to number 2, which is do dress appropriately. Whatever your date is, you should dress appropriate for that type of date. If the date is going to be a Saturday night and you're going to some fancy bar or whatever, you don't want to show up in cargo shorts and a white beater undershirt, something like that.
Right.
You want to dress appropriate. If you're first date, or maybe it's a third date, something like that, maybe you're going hiking, you want to wear some hiking attire, but be dressed appropriately.
And you want to dress similarly to how your date is going to dress. You don't want to make the other person feel overdressed or underdressed.
Would you think it's a faux pas if a guy was like, "Hey, what are you wearing to this date?"
Not, maybe for a first date, but not for subsequent dates. If they've invited you to maybe like a more upscale bar, dress a little more upscale. Wear a nice sweater or shirt and either classy pair of jeans or a pair of dress pants and little heels, or something maybe like a cute fun dress. But if you're going to go someplace more casual, you don't want to show up in a fancier dress or a fancier outfit, and he's going to be there in jeans and a t-shirt. So you want to try to match and mirror each other. It'll make that person feel more comfortable.
Number 3, don't use your phone. So you had mentioned that.
Yeah.
I had mentioned that. Texting, calling a friend or whatever. Now, I understand that there's occasions where you feel the date is bombing and you seriously need to escape from it. If that's really the case, in all honesty, I think if that is the case, then you should actually just tell the person, "You know what, thank you for inviting me out. I'm not really enjoying myself, so I'm going to go ahead and take off." A lot of people are too afraid to do that, though, right? So at least excuse yourself to the bathroom or something like that. Don't do it right there. Just ignoring the person, "Yeah, come save me now." Or even call them.
Yeah, oh, what's that? You've been in a car accident? Do you need help? Yeah, no, just have the courtesy to end the date on a respectful note, the same way you would want someone to end a date that wasn't going well for them with you.
Number 4 is do stay casual. So I think on dates, especially in the earlier stages of dating, just keep it really casual. Save all the formal, big time stuff for later. But if it's within the first 3 dates or whatever, keep everything sort of casual, fun, short, uplifting, things like that. Number 5 is don't talk about your past. I know I've done this myself.
I think we all have.
So I've learned to stay away from that. But keep away, save those sort of questions for later, after you've known the person for a bit. If you're just starting to date, first date, second date, whatever the case is, keep away. Don't talk about my last relationship, it was like this. Oh, I had a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. That was nuts and blah, blah, blah. Keep away from your
Because
past.
usually when you talk about past relationships, you're oftentimes bringing up negativity, which leads us into another topic that we have about staying positive on a date.
Number 6, I got do simple compliments. Basically what I mean by that is easy compliments. Wow, you look very pretty tonight. I like your hair. This is something really simple.
But pick something specific. I might say, that's a very nice sweater on you. It complements your hair well.
Oh, thank you.
Something simple. Pick something specific, though, and something that maybe that person doesn't get complimented on by other people.
Something you want to stay away from, though, is being like, damn, bitch, you stupid fly. Let me pull up to that bumper and smack that monkey.
Exactly. Stay positive, stay professional. Because like we were comparing dating to a job interview, you want to be remembered. You want to stand out from the other people that person may be going out with. So be memorable, which is why I say pick something maybe specific about that person. If that person has the most beautiful blue eyes in the world that you've ever seen, chances are they get lots of compliments on their blue eyes. You may want to say, I really like your hairstyle, or, I really like your sweater, for example. Something that they don't hear from everybody else.
So number 7, we got, don't go on first dates with friends around. I've actually been on a first date where I was going to meet someone for the first time, and we show up to the bar, and her friends were there. She knew her friends were going to be there, and at the last minute she had mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, my friends and I are hanging out here, so you should come. That's a hard thing to get out of, especially if you're going to meet the person for the first time. Now you're actually meeting their friends as well, and if these are really close friends and you don't hit it off with the friends are going to be like, oh, she's a jerk, whatever the case is. You want to, if that's the case, if you're getting ready to go meet someone for the first time and their friends are going to be there, just ask to reschedule or something like that. Hey, I'd like it to be us two for the first meeting before I meet your friends.
And also, too, then the question becomes, is it a date or are you just hanging out? And then you can quickly slip into that friend zone versus a potential date or boyfriend or girlfriend, because now you're in more of a comfort zone and you're also being looked at as a potential friend versus date.
Do you think it's possible to get out of the friend zone?
No.
No, not at all?
Not for me personally. If I consider you a friend and I have no romantic interest in you, it's not going to change. I've dated guys that I've liked and should have been good guys to date, but there just wasn't that chemistry there. And as hard as I tried to make the chemistry be there, it wasn't, and it never was. But to this day, they are wonderful friends.
Number 9 is don't speak with negatives. There's a lot of time where you get into conversations and someone might say, so do you like sports? And if your response is, oh, I hate sports, or I hate the Dallas Cowboys, whatever the case is. I hate this. Oh, I hate it when people do that. All these things are negative connotations where it just kind of brings the conversation down. You want back to the same thing like we were talking about. Don't bring up the past. If you're bashing other people, again, those are negative things. The more negative things that you're saying, you might not realize it, but if you're putting a negative spin on whatever it is the topic is, then it tends to bring the mood down.
Absolutely. And if somebody's bringing up something, do you like sports, or are you a fan of this sports team? Chances are it's something that they feel pretty strongly about or are excited about. And if you're saying, oh, I hate this, I hate that, or being very negative about it, it's going to deflate their interest and their potential interest in you. A better way to handle it would be if somebody said, oh, do you like baseball? And if you don't like baseball, you could say, well, I've been to a few games. I don't really, maybe I don't understand the game very well, or, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I'd be open to going to see a game with you and see what the experience is. Maybe you had a bad experience at a game with a group of friends that you had went with. Maybe the weather was bad. Maybe the team that you were cheering for lost. Just because you had one bad experience with something doesn't mean that every experience that you're going to have with it would be bad. Maybe that person has a fun way of presenting baseball games that you might enjoy. Be open to other people's viewpoints and other people's ideas of fun. You'd be surprised what you might discover you might like.
The next one is one of my favorites. Do prepare questions ahead of time. One of the things I like to do is before I'm going on a date, if it's first date, second date, whatever the case is, I like to have pre-prepared questions and possibly answers for any question I might be asked ahead of time. That way, if I'm asked a question, I'm not like, what's going on? Especially on a first date, just like a job interview, you go in and you don't really know what to expect, but if you prepare yourself, then it makes the experience a little bit easier, more enjoyable. You might forget here and there because you're frustrated or you're excited.
Maybe excited.
Nervous, something like that. So the next one is don't have super high expectations. What I mean by that is, fellas, don't go into a first date just assuming that you're going to get laid at the end of the night, or that it's even going to end in a small make-out session in the back of your crappy car. Having these super high expectations, if you don't meet those expectations, you're going to end the date thinking it didn't go as well. You're going to say, well, I'm expecting it to be at a certain level, or whatever the case is, and maybe you had a good time, but it didn't meet your expectations, so the date was okay. But in all reality, maybe it was a lot better than you think it was, and your expectations were a bit too high. Have you ever had any guys just having like really high expectations for you at the end of the night?
Oh yeah. Being female, a lot of times guys will try to get very physical with you at the end of a first date, and that's the quickest turn off and almost guarantee of no second date, because if you don't respect me as a person and as a friend, why would I want to even have a second date with you?
Hey, you remember our last episode that we did? The one that you should go and watch if you haven't seen it after this? It was all on deal breakers. Well, there you go. There's
one deal breaker.
Yeah, there's a deal breaker. How do you know if the person that you're going out on all these dates with, you're in a single pattern with them, whether it be you're always sleeping together, maybe you're always doing a specific activity, maybe you're always around friends, maybe every single date is all your other friends are always around and stuff like that, almost like group dates. How do you break out of that pattern so that way you can progress forward?
Take the initiative yourself and suggest doing something else. If your dates have evolved into, dinner, a movie, and then come home and bed, change it up. Suggest bowling. If your dates are always with others, with group dates with other friends, suggest doing a solo date. Keep things interesting. Always for me, I like to keep the other person guessing a little bit, so that they don't really know what to expect in regards to, things that you might do. One weekend maybe you want to go out hiking. The next weekend maybe go see a show. Go to, something that we live in Las Vegas, so we have lots of shows and things like that on the Strip to do. But for those of you that live outside of a major metropolitan area, find little things that your specific town has to do. Take them to maybe a history center, something that they're not expecting. When you keep things interesting and keep things fresh, it keeps them wondering and excited for the next date, where they don't really know what to expect. Oh, are we going to go to the zoo this time, or are we going to go and see a movie? Keep things interesting, and it keeps them interested.
That actually works for marriages as well. Mm-hmm. Even in a marriage, sometimes you get into the stagnant feeling of, well, I've already reached the level that I wanted to.
I've obtained the goal of being married.
There's nothing left to do, but you need to keep that relationship going. So even with marriages, you want to make sure that you're still going out on dates and you're still doing all these same things, practicing all of these dating do's and don'ts. Well, before I let you go, I want to start a new segment. I have this book here, and yes, and I'm sure the person who purchased this for me is laughing that I'm actually going to be using this. But I figure what I'd like to do is I want to start ending all the episodes with a completely romantic or a completely random romantic gesture here. So this is 1001 Ways to Be Romantic.
By who's the author?
Gregory J.P. Godek.
In case anybody wants to go out and buy the book.
Yeah.
You know who.
So I'm just, completely random here. I want something short. Some of these are, okay.
There we go.
Slightly outrageous. Number 455. Visit a karaoke bar and surprise your lover by getting up and singing your song to him or her.
And that goes back to the plan random and fun dates like we had talked about.
Sure.
Keep them guessing.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for watching Love Advice TV.